What human resource executive hasn't longed for a seat at the executive table? But for most, this dream is yet to be realized. But as companies undergo a major digital transformation, driven by the rapid adoption of innovations in enterprise mobility, data analytics, cloud computing, social media, among others, businesses are being reshaped across every industry. And this has also been driven from the pandemic situation as well. Functions and processes, including HR, are being radically reinvented. And as this occurs, executives will need HR to step up the plate and assume a new kind of leadership role moving forward. We at Amoeboids conducted a global CHRO study around the future of work, and there are some interesting findings too, which we got from the study. And I have an eminent list of experts here with me today, with whom I would be discussing these findings and getting their perspective. So my first panelist is Anish Philip. He's a CHRO with CSS Corp. Welcome, Anish.
Thank you. Thanks, Karthik. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you. And my second panelist is Gauri Das. She's the head HR and admin for India Factory. Welcome, Gauri.
Thanks, Karthik.
Thanks, both of you, for taking time for this discussion. So in our study, it showed that about 58% of leaders said that they're implementing supportive policies towards hybrid environments, especially with post-pandemic, we moved into remote hybrid work environments. So I wanted to understand from both of you, how are you seeing the role of HR leaders change in this new normal of hybrid working? Anish, could start with you.
Yes, Karthik. Thanks. Great question. And yes, in my perspective, HR function has gone through a tremendous change over the last 2.5 years, I would say, ever since the pandemic began. And one of the lasting impacts of COVID-19 that people will always remember is really about the remote working, the flexible work options that it has given to people. And that I do not see, the industry going back or this models really, taking the pre-COVID route at any point of time. From an HR perspective, I think there are 4 things which are basically I would put across that is keeping HR folks active and has been their priority. I think the first one is really about designing the smart work strategy, right? And today people have been talking about return to office, back to office sort of thing. So how do we really incorporate this totally remote, hybrid, the in-office working models seamlessly, so you have all the different models working together. Second is digitization is a no-brainer anymore, right? I think that's really a mandated and a necessary thing, which is there. So how do we, use the digitized operating model, okay, and at the same time being agile? So that's the part of it. The third part to me in implementing the smart work is breaking through the hierarchies, right? And how do we give faster access to employees for information, to access to people, etc. And then the whole flexibility options. It could be around flexible hours. It could be around flexible days. At CSS Corp, we have made an open declaration that 20% of our people will continue to be permanently working remote, right? That's basically, other than the flexible hours, the flexible days, they will have. But I think these sort of definitions are coming in, and that's the first priority, for me to really have all these models, have all these working models at the same time. The second thing is about really improving or enhancing the employee experience. In the last 2.5 years, all of us have been working virtually, and that's a significant shift that HR will have to, where everything has been touch and feel, we had access to people, we had colleagues working next to us, we had managers next to us, things like that. Now using the whole digital medium, how can we continue to enhance the employee experience, okay, to address the needs of flexibility, but at the same time it should be more personalized, a personalized career path, a personalized learning opportunity, all those things should be there, while at the same time it is also about enhancing or laying emphasis on productivity as well as performance improvements. I think the third point that I would like to highlight is, obviously, while these are, I think in the virtual environment, it is a lot of screen time. We are, the social fabric is really missing. The demand curve has also changed, totally in a different direction. So it has also led to burnouts, people working more hours. So the employee wellness, especially focus on the mental wellness part of it, is, I think, is very, very important. And again, I come from an industry where it is into ITES. So where people are working, on shifts, 24/7 sort of work in certain times. So, they are rostered, they are, that flexibility of hours, that flexibility of days, everything comes into play. So that the mental wellness, and holistic wellness as a thing, is a big, big focus for us. I think the fourth and the most important thing, which we are all, which at CSS Corp we are really focusing on at this point of time, it is also a phase of transformation for us, where we are transforming the business and growing. The last 2 to 3 years, we've been growing at 25% plus growth rate. It's been significant, ways of, we are growing significantly. So it's really about sharpening the organizational purpose and culture. I think what is more important is, in this whole hybrid model or this flexible things, it was not really about the culture had changed, but just that how employees have been experienced culture has really gone through the change.
Sure.
Earlier, what it was more about, the touch and feel, one seeing the office, there are some posters, there are pictures, now everything is very, very different from, virtually. So how can we virtually get connected? I think that becomes the key part of it. And how do, so as HR, as managers, I think we are all going through the challenge of how do we get that cultural connectedness, in each and every employee. So these are really the 4 parameters that I would say is really the priority, for HR largely, at least for me, these are really the priority at this point of time that I'm looking at.
No, I think that was very nicely laid out. It sets the entire context of saying, so what are the various aspects that we need to be looking at from a culture, from a employee wellness standpoint, employee engagement perspective. So, but one very important aspect that you brought up was also that, earlier we had the touch and feel, which was, an integral part of anything which the HR was actually doing, be it the interviews, be it onboarding, employee engagement, performance appraisals, among other things. And now, since the COVID situation has come in, a lot of businesses had to reinvent themselves in all these areas as well. So, Gauri, I wanted to understand from you, so what will be the digital transformation of HR? How would you see that transforming in this new normal?
And thanks, Karthik, and thanks, Anish, for explaining it so well. I think this is exactly everyone is facing today. For me, I think like Anish laid out what is future of work, which is already there. The priorities that we are looking at is again in terms of high-tech experience. Anish brought out employee experience, and I think as a customer, we have now moved to a very high level of experience sitting at home. So, for example, if I take my case, I would even go to buy a mobile to a store before 2020. I had that urge that I should always have the touch and feel before I buy something. And today I am not at all going out for shopping. Everything is bought through home. So such kind of experience as a customer when I am getting, it is now transforming as an employee also. So as HR, this high-tech experience has become a very important priority. that how do you bring in technology which can give people seamless experience. And especially in banking, from where I come, it is happening. Remember those queues, long queues that we used to have, and today it's like touch of button and you have your KYC done. And so many new things are coming. Regulator is bringing in so many frameworks to make it easy for everyone. So employees are looking at that high tech experience is one of the things. Second, hybrid workforce, but then there are people who want to see their people back in office. So banking, most of the banks have gone back to, or NBFCs have gone back to work from office fully. Some are in hybrid, some have given this flexibility. So industry to industry, it is very dynamic. It's changing from company to company, industry to industry. So managing this has also become a very important aspect today, because some managers have these expectations. Other managers are like, you operate from anywhere, anytime, I don't care. So employees have started comparing that I am not given this flexibility, but the other person or other team is given that flexibility. And we know that feeling when you have something good, you feel happy about it. But by the time you get to know that others have something better, you don't value what you have. So that is another important thing that we are looking at, because it has potential to impact employee experience. Because even if you leave it to managers, ultimately it's employee experience which is going to get spoiled. Now, third thing is the way that we are continuously talking about, and we just discussed, Karthik, before starting the show, that a team member is not well. Same thing is happening in office. Now, how do you decide whether people come back to work, not come back to work? So it's like transitioning, or it's a dynamic situation. Every single moment things are changing. So managing that along with business is another thing that I'm looking at. Nobody has all the answers today. We do not know how future or today looks like. Tomorrow your whole team is not well and you have to invoke BCP. Even this situation can come. So these are some of the things that are on my agenda.
So it's a very interesting aspect that you brought with respect to employee experience itself. So now the employee also becomes like a customer. So the kind of experience that they get outside when they're interacting in the digital world and shopping, they start expecting a similar kind of experience, even from a in-house or the organization standpoint. And the differentiation, right? Like you said, some of them might say, okay, they're having that flexibility.
Yes.
I'm not having it. So these are, I think, some new challenges which are emerging. I think from from a manager standpoint, while one aspect is to say how do I manage this diverse set of workers which are there, and how do I address their concerns, but I also see that the other challenge is about employee skills itself. So in our study, it showed that not being able to clearly identify employee skills that will make them and the organization future ready was among one of the top concerns for the HR leaders in 60% of the instances. So Anish, what according to you would be the potential issue if HR is not involved in this digital transformation table itself to make employees future ready?
No, Karthik, again, a great question, and obviously, the chat. See, today it is absolutely. I think companies, organizations have changed also, and HR is there. In the HR does have a seat, because because for everything, employee is at the center. Yeah. I think it is important to understand. To listen to employees, to be empathetic to them, and have a design thinking approach towards things. So that is the reason why HR is very important to be at the center of the table in this particular thing. And this leads to personalized approach in identifying what are the skill sets. In fact, it is becoming it has become how can HR bring in that whole integrated talent strategy in place, right? And that's a maturity that organizations have moved to or are moving towards, and identification of what are the future skills, what is the future readiness of the workers, of your workforce. I think that becomes the most crucial thing which we are all going through. And along with that comes in the whole learning methodologies, the willingness to take feedback, receive it, learn from that. I think these are things which is becoming very, very important, and HR is hence at the center table of all those things.
Okay, Gauri, would you like to add anything to that?
Yeah, I think few aspects, like Anish said it very well. The first thing that we need to actually question again, everything goes back to employee experience, because we are in midst of talent war as well, and who knows it better than Anish, who represents IT. So we have to look at employee experience when we are changing something, transforming something, and it is a forced OD, as we say in HR parlance, that this is not something that we planned to, that we will bring in this change. There was a change management handbook, nothing like that. But the question that we need to ask, how is it impacting employee experience? Because many a time technology is there, but we have people from 4 generations. So we have seen cases where you would have a robust system to book your tickets, but a senior employee would give a call to admin and say, please help me out. I don't know how this system works. I can't remember passwords and rest of it. And whereas somebody who's coming from the Gen Z or Gen Y, they will be not happy if such systems are not there. So having that balance between all 4 generations that we are working together, we need to have options for all set of people. You need to train them, and I think mostly it is mindset change, because people from a certain era or certain generation were very comfortable not using IT, but today it does not work out if you are not using IT. So guiding them would be one of the things which would be crucial for employee experience. Then, like you rightly said, skilling is another important thing. We are transforming, we are doing everything, but do we have the right skill? The same example, somebody is not able to use even the robust system that you have for travel management or leave and attendance management. The system becomes so complex that they do not want to go and do appraisals through the system, 360 through the system. So this is also very important. The way things are transforming, the way things are changing, do we have this skill, and do we also have the skill for future? So reskilling, upskilling is another thing. And third, I think HR always have this experience of change management. We did so many things, be it DNI, be it bringing women back to work, or lot of other agenda, the changing overall perspective about employee experience. And we know these things are not done at one go. And it's multiple iterations that it would take. So we are expert in that. We know it. You have to collect feedback and then make changes. Again, collect feedback and then change the systems accordingly. So these 3 things, I think, would be very important when it comes to bringing HR to the table when you are making a transformation. If you don't have HR on table, who's going to understand the employee experience? And we have seen multiple case studies where systems fail, billions of dollars are wasted because your culture, your mindset was not for it. And that's where I think if HR is not there, there will be multiple challenges.
That's very nice.
Karthik just would like to also add on. And when I said I briefly mentioned about that integrated talent strategy, and hence the need for HR.
Yeah.
So if I get into the specifics of that, it is also looking at not just the work options. It is also about looking into other important aspects, like how does your strategy help in driving diversity and inclusion?
Correct.
How does the strategy help in building leadership and that whole learning culture that we are trying to build? Correct. How do we help the managers to become better people managers and to manage the workforce in a hybrid model? Right. So I think there are multiple elements to that particular thing. And now, we have the whole ESG component also coming into play, right? And how does, how do people practices influence at each of the levels of E, S, and G right? And what are some of the action steps that have to be imparted within that? I think hence the importance of HR at the center table is becoming more and more. That's the another aspect to the whole.
True. Another aspect which emerged in our study was that over 30% respondents believe that optimum use of digital tools is essential to develop skills for the future. So, Gauri, you touched upon some of those aspects. So from a digital transformation actually requires employees and the managers or leaders also to reinvent themselves on how they go about utilizing these tools, technologies. Otherwise, they are also going to become redundant that way. So how can HR actually contribute to this and enable them to be ready for the future? So Gauri, would you like to take that question?
Yeah, I think a very important piece because change is the name of the game today. Things are changing every single day. And if you don't adjust or adapt to the new ways of working, you are not going to survive. And along with you, even organization will have challenges. I think the three things that are on people's mind also today would be one, security, the job security. We have so much going on around today in terms of geopolitical situation, in terms of COVID, that there is always a sense that things may not work out, especially for certain industries. And we are growing, all the data is supporting that, but everybody is scared that there is recession in the offing, it might happen. And US is already seeing some of these things. There's a labor crisis. So a lot of things are playing around currently. So this sense of security. Safety is another thing on agenda because COVID has not gone completely yet, and we don't even know how is it going to play out in future. Just like we discussed that if the whole team is not well, I am not even talking about the protocols that we used to follow, but if the team is not well, how a manager is going to manage this situation? You become inhuman and you tell, even if you are having fever, you cannot take a leave today because everybody is sick. Or if you give them leave, what is going to happen to the customers or to the business? So that is another thing which is in terms of security, safety. And third is skilling. People understand today that they have to upskill on their own as well. An organization is not going to sponsor everything that they want to do. There is another thought process post-COVID that I want to do something different because I got time to rethink. I got time to explore few more things, and I want to then hence reskill myself. So we see everywhere around people are taking up courses, people are requesting for multiple things. It was not as much earlier, but now there is awareness that organization and people have to work on it together. So reskilling, upskilling becomes a very important agenda, and there are not many skills which are not there in market at all, and that's where you find it extremely difficult. You have to pay a premium. So why pay premium on bringing someone from outside? Why not and help your own people learn and have those skills in house? That is always a win-win situation for everyone. And then another aspect is you train your people and then people leave, but it is always better to have trained people rather than not training them and having someone who is anyways not useful. So I think both sides have to work in tandem, and then only we would be able to achieve this. But yes, managers are going to play a very important role, and for this again the role of HR comes. Do we have those skills in the system? If we have, it's fine. How are we going to evolve? If we don't have, what is the roadmap for each and every person? Doing it along with what they are doing already. Like Anish mentioned, people are facing burnout. There's so much work, so much happening around. So how are you going to do that is again another thing which is a very important piece in our agenda today.
Interesting. Anish, so how can HR leaders actually champion the message that digital is everyone's responsibility in the organization? So what can HR do for that?
Absolutely. To me, I think Gauri really covered a lot of aspects on that particular thing, Karthik. And to me, the rapid upskilling approach, is important not just for the learner, the managers, but also equally, important for the organization as such. Because only if the the organization can benefit, only if the talent is ready for that. So what is it, for the organization or for the people, the current ways of working, of how they're leading, how they are managing that leadership or the cultural transformation, it is to building the digital mindset. I think hence it is more important. What HR can do is really about, can we bring in that whole culture of learning? So today learning has also changed, right? From a classroom to, it's again a taken a granted sort of thing that is there. But I think, how do we ensure that deliberate practice is there? How do we ensure that it is more outcome driven? And again, Gauri touched upon the aspect of, while digitization is one thing of it, how do we bring that element of high tech and high touch, right? That's very, very important. While all these things are there, we have to again look at the aspects of creating that safe learning environment. How do we personalize to the need of each and every individual? What is the sort of ROI that we can try to derive out of that? And how can we demonstrate that mindset change? So that's basically something which HR has to really drive, in this transformation.
Interesting. So as a parting question for both of you, if you were to give some tips for organizations out there who still probably may not have HR in the center of all these conversations, or who are planning to take that step but aren't sure on how to go about it, what are some tips that you would like to share with them? Gauri.
Yeah, I think I would say that do not consider this transformation, digital transformation, as bringing in some new applications or softwares, but look at it from people's perspective, because they are the ones who are actually going to lead the change. Now, there is resistance all the time whenever there is something new. So first, you should address that. And again, you need to have HR there to address this. Your line managers needs to be empowered and guided well to go through this transformation. Another thing that I have noticed is people think productivity will improve when our jobs will be at stake. So that also needs to be taken care of, that it's not that we are doing this transformation because we want to cut number of people, but we want to be agile, we want to be there. That's what customer wants, and that's where we have to make this change. So this would be another important aspect to take care of, because many a times we talk very highly about the digitization piece that we are working on, but somewhere the employee is thinking, and that too especially at the lowest level where they are more into manual work, they are thinking that what will happen once this system is in place? Am I going to lose my job? What do I need to do to sustain this? And they start resisting the change, and many times such initiatives fail. So I think any transformation, because there are only two things today, it's talent and technology. If you don't combine the two, you are not going to get the desired results that you are looking at. So combine them, have HR at the center stage for any sort of transformation. Like Anish said, it's digital mindset, it's culture change, digital culture that we are talking about. If people are with you, it is going to be a smooth ride, but if they are against, then it's not going to help any sides. So this is what I would suggest.
Anish?
Yeah, so my, obviously, Karthik, different organizations are at different levels of maturity.
Yes.
I would say the first and the foremost thing which HR as a function needs to do is, and how do they transform the people management function, is really a couple of things. I think first is we need to rethink the target HR organization. Right, the people practices are changing. The works, employees' expectation, experience levels are all changing. So I think first is we need to rethink, what is the target HR organization that we want to. If we continue to do the standard ways of operating, I don't think that we will gather the respect, or we will be able to influence the organization transformation.
Correct.
I think the second part to that is basically about how do we help, transform managers into better people leaders, which we, Gauri and I all, already spoke about that particular thing. I think that's really going to be the key thing. The third thing for me is really about keeping, again, people at the center of everything and making decisions, practices, how, driving the whole empathy piece out there. How do we gather feedback from them and trying to, work on that? I think that's going to be the key thing. And the fourth one really to me is really having a very clear laid out talent strategy, in alignment to the organizational transformational goals. I think that's basically, the thing which I would put in place.
So the net, what I get from this entire conversation is, digital transformation is not just about bringing new tools and technologies, but it's about seeing how do we improve the experience of our employees itself, and for which, people should be at the center of it, be it with respect to understanding what they need, getting their feedback, addressing their concerns, to say that this is not to replace them, but to improve their experience. And I think at a larger context, having an alignment between the organization's objectives, key results, and the people management function of it as well. And these are definitely challenging as well as exciting times ahead for managers as well as HR leaders. So Anish and Gauri, thanks a lot for your time. Wonderful insights, and I'm sure the listeners out there will have a lot of takeaway from this, which can help them, get their seat on the table, as well as formulate strategies which have people at the core of it. So thank you once again for your time.
Thanks, Karthik. Thanks, Gauri. Nice interacting with both of you.
Same here. Thank you so much, Karthik and Anish. Wonderful understanding what's happening in different industries.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.